What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What is going on? Hope everyone is doing extremely well today. I am most certainly doing well today. We are coming here with a little bit of a late stream. I know it's a little later in the evening. Very, very busy day, of course. And luckily, the Mets are on the West Coast for the upcoming couple of days. So that definitely lucks out for me in regards to today's stream. But we're just going to be on here for maybe a little bit shorter than usual. I have a very busy schedule. The end of the school year is here. So I have a lot going on right now. And of course, social stuff too. So definitely got to take care of that. So we're going to be on here going over everything that needs to be discussed about. But hope everyone is doing well. Of course, in today's stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series summary. So pretty much summarizing what went wrong, what went good, pretty much the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I like to call it. So going over that, then of course we are going to transition into the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics series preview. My apologies. I had a brain fart for a second. But yeah, we're going to be going over that. And then, of course, all your guys' comments, questions, and concerns just for a little bit. Like I said, a little bit short on time, but I definitely wanted to get on here and, discuss everything that, needs to be discussed with y'all. So, yeah, so I guess let's stop wasting any more time and let's go over that New York Mets and San Diego Padres series summary. So obviously the New York Mets played the San Diego Padres for the final, for the second home series. So the Mets are now on the road, but they were at home and they finished it off by playing the San Diego Padres. Definitely high emotions for both of these teams, especially for the Mets, as this was the team that eliminated them from last year's playoff contention, which we don't really need to go over that. But yeah, so definitely high emotions. Padres, running in hot, and obviously the Mets wanting to get revenge, and they certainly did, as the Mets were fortunate enough to take 2 of 3 from the San Diego Padres, and they just did that. So that's really good to see, as the New York Mets took 2 of 3 as stated. So let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive right into that series summary. So obviously getting into it, Monday's game, the New York Mets won this game by a score of 5-0. Obviously, Mad Max Scherzer was on the bump for the New York Mets. Scherzer, with a phenomenal outing, definitely looked good. We know in Max Scherzer's first 2 outings, he looked really bad. No way to sugarcoat it, but Scherzer looked really bad. And then he came into this outing, was expected to really go out there and play well. And he did. He went out there 5 innings pitched, giving up 1 hit, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, 97 pitches. 61 of those were in the strike zone. Obviously, this wasn't a phenomenal start for Scherzer. Had a little bit hard time finding the zone first. Definitely got bailed out by his defense. His slider looked okay. A lot of his off-speed pitches and I guess kind of secondary pitches when it came to locating the zone wasn't quite there to begin with, but then he kind of dialed in a little bit and essentially just got lucky. Like I said, this Padres lineup in this first game wasn't off to a great start offensively, weren't really taking a whole lot of pitches, weren't trying to do anything with, Scherzer's pitch count or anything like that. And I guess essentially they paid the price for it. So Scherzer had a good outing, no major complaints. Following that, John Curtis came in for an inning of relief, walking 2 and striking out 1. Drew Smith came in for an inning, a walk, 2 strikeouts. David Robertson came in for an inning, struck out 2. And then Adam Ottavino came in, giving up a hit and 3 strikeouts. So, yeah, phenomenal outing for the Mets pitching staff. Obviously, the first shutout of the season against the San Diego Padres. So you definitely like to see that. Super happy to see. But getting into the offense is definitely where the offense was able to hold down the fort. We know that this is a team that definitely has its fair share of complexities when it comes to this Padres pitching staff. And facing Yu Darvish, the Mets were able to beat up on Yu Darvish to an extent. Obviously, Darvish went 6 1/3, 5 runs, 5 hits, and only a walk. But, they didn't really essentially beat up on Darvish. He got very unlucky, very unfortunate with a lot of light contact, and just where the defensive positions were, the defensive guys were positioned. So he kind of got beat up on that. Obviously, getting things started with the offensive production in the third inning. Finally, the Mets are driving in runs with runners in scoring position in this case, as Jeff McNeil has an RBI double down the has an RBI double to right field to bring in Fransisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. Heading on into the seventh inning for a little bit more insurance. Mets kind of rallied a little bit as Eduardo Escobar hit a sac fly to left to bring in Mark Canha. Following that, Fransisco Lindor had an RBI double to bring in Luis Guillorme and Brandon Nimmo. But keynote to bring on was in the seventh inning when obviously Tomas Nido and Luis Guillorme both dropped pitches down the foul line that just managed to get fair. And obviously the Mets were able to benefit off of that. So you definitely like to see that. That was really good to see. So Mets win game 1, 5-0. Scherzer with his second win on the season. Getting into game 2, the Mets unfortunately lost this game by a score of 4-2. Obviously, for the Mets, they had David Peterson on the bump, went 5 2/3 innings pitched, giving up 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 89 pitches with 63 strikeouts. So this was a pretty decent outing for David Peterson once again. You can't really go after David Peterson for this outing. Obviously, this was more of the offense, and we will get into that. Peterson went out there. He did his job. Unfortunately, those 2 runs were given up by Manny Machado. 2 outs. It was like a 1-2 count. The count was in his favor, and Machado was just able to put one down the line to drive in 2 runs. So, not much you can go after David Peterson for. He did his job. It's just his offense didn't show up, plain and simple. His slider looked good. His command looked pretty decent, as stated. Only 2 walks in 5 2/3, which is pretty darn good for David Peterson, considering he's a guy who, would go out there and drive up his pitch count and walk the ballpark. Like I said, 89 pitches and 5 2/3, pretty much 6 innings, 90 pitches. That's pretty good. That's exceptional from David Peterson. So, definitely a very needed start from David Peterson to get himself into the routine he needs to. Following that, Danny Reyes came in for an inning and a third, giving up a hit. No runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Following that, Brooks Raley came in, an inning, clean, nothing really happened. And then in the ninth inning, Dennis Santana came in, an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, and a strikeout. And obviously that 2-run homer that he gives up to Bogarts will definitely come back to bite him. In terms of the offense, this team really didn't play well offensively. Looking at the offense when it comes down to this team, they really sucked. Obviously, you had 5 hits, only scored 2 runs. And what really irks me is how bad this team came when it went to hitting with runners in scoring position. This team was not hitting at all with runners in scoring position, and that is what irks me. You start off the first inning, bases loaded, no outs. You expect to drive in a run, whether it's, fundamental baseball, sac fly, ground ball, force out, double play, just driving a run. But no, the Mets were not able to get the job done. Alonso struck out on a full count. Good pitch by Ryan Weathers, and Canha hit a double play directly up the middle. Second baseman was there, and he got him out. So that's just how it went for them. And then from, the rest of the game, they just were really dead offensively, just were not able to hit off of Ryan Weathers and the rest of their bullpen, which is just very unfortunate. But in terms of the offensive production, 4th inning, Mark Canha had a sac fly to right to bring in Lindor. And then in the 9th inning, you tried to rally. You had bases loaded. The go-ahead run was on second base. And you had, obviously Tommy Pham had an RBI single to center to bring in Alonso. But Francisco Alvarez comes up to the plate, full count, and swung at strike 3, which was way high. All the pitches that Josh Hader was throwing to Alvarez were high. And, Josh Hader coming in, not looking super great. And unfortunately, the Mets were not able to execute. And, by far, this was a game that was winnable in 2022 for the Mets last year. This was a winnable game for them. But like I said, they just were not able to execute. The runners in scoring position really got to the best of them, unfortunately. So This is a game that you look back on and you say, well, could this be a very important game down the line? Like I said, I think this is a game that if it was played last year, the Mets would have won it. They walked this game. They got on base, but they just couldn't drive runners in. I mean, you had bases loaded with no outs, drove in none, and then I think later in the game you had bases loaded with 1 out, and you didn't drive in any. So, point blank, it's unacceptable, and it's not okay. So we'll see how things go down the line with it. Like I said, offensively, this team's approach was non-existent that game. But luckily, things got a little bit better, as in Game 3, the final game of this 3-game set, the rubber game match, the Mets win it by a score of 5-2. You like to see that. Obviously, Tylor Megill, aka Silor Megill, because he pitches in April, came on and was, very effective. Tylor Megill came in, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 81 pitches. Tylor Megill had a pretty solid outing. No other way to say it. He looked good. He did what he needed to do. He went out there. He executed, pounded the strike zone well. That shortened up stride is really helping him out a little bit. So hopefully that could be something that, the Mets could definitely keep an eye out for. His velocity went down a little bit, but I think that's actually been a little bit of a good thing. Maybe more of his off-speed and secondary pitches, kind of able to, I guess, fool the hitters and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be a benefit for Megill down the line. He looked good. No major complaints. Kept the pitch count there. Pounded the zone. Light contact. Started off the game rough, but got out of it. Following Megill's outing, Rayleigh came in an inning. Drew Smith came in an inning, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Drew Smith is definitely a nerve-wracking guy to watch. David Robertson came in for an inning and a third. 2 hits and 2 strikeouts, 27 pitches. And then obviously Adam Ottavino came in to close things out, an inning and a walk. So yeah, obviously the Mets pitching held down the fort, only giving up 6 hits and 2 runs to the Padres. Obviously offensively, Padres looked pretty rough that game. In terms of the offense, that's where they came. They were able to execute 5 runs and 8 hits. So we definitely like to see that for the Mets. Getting things started in the second inning, Brandon Nimmo had an RBI double to deep center to bring in Tommy Pham to break open this ball game. Heading on into the third inning, Fransisco Lindor has a homer to left, 367 feet, was just able to tuck that into the foul pole. So Fransisco Lindor with a second home run on the season. Hopefully, I hope he could start to get hot. The first dozen games of the season, he's been 2020 Lindor hasn't been looking super great. So hopefully he can get started. Heading on into the 5th inning, Pete Alonso decides to break this ball game in the Mets' favor by hitting a solo home run to left center, 431 feet for his 6th on the year. This dude, it just keeps hitting homer. This dude's power is insane. Heading on into the 6th inning, Brandon Nimmo with some more insurance runs has an RBI single to right to bring in Escobar. And heading on into the 7th inning, Tommy Pham has an RBI single to left to bring in Pete Alonso. This game overall went pretty well for the Mets. 5-2, Mets win. This team was hitting with runners in scoring position. This team was drawing their walks, and that's exactly how the Mets win ball games. Is they're capable of getting on base, right? The Mets will get on base. Can you bring them in now? That base is loaded, no outs. That's how the game started off, and they didn't execute. But then later parts of the game, they hit for some power, and they drove the runners in that they needed to. And that's exactly what the Mets need to do. Offensively, the team did pretty good. Nimmo went 3 for 5, 2 RBIs. Alonso 2 for 3 with 2 walks. McNeil had 3 walks. So offensively, this team looked pretty good this game. Besides the part with hitting with runners in scoring position, otherwise the team really did their job. They went out there and they executed. So Mets took 2-3 from the San Diego Padres. Definitely a very much needed series win, no doubt about it. Obviously, the Mets definitely kind of gave them a little bit of relaxation when it comes down to it, considering the whole, how the wild card went down for the Mets in 2021. So a little bit of assurance that, things will be okay, I guess you could say. So the Mets take 2 of 3 from the San Diego Padres, now 7-6, 4-2 at home. Now let's get into tonight's game and then series. So The New York Mets are going out west to play against the Oakland Athletics. The Mets are going to play a 3-game set in Oakland, the Oakland Coliseum. The New York Mets are playing tonight at 9:40, so just about 40 minutes away. The New York Mets will be playing baseball. With that said, tonight, it's a 9:40 Eastern Standard start. Kodai Senga will be on the bump for the New York Metropolitans. Senga is looking great so far in the short season, 2-0 in the season, a 1.59 ERA, a 1.06 whip, 11 and a third innings pitched, 6 hits, 14 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 1 home run given up. Senga's been looking pretty good. He's pounding the strike zone very well. His ghost forkball has been looking like a very good pitch for him that could be very successful for him down the line. Overall, like I said, Kodai Senga has been a very reliable pitcher for this New York Mets team and hasn't showed any concerns, any complexity, any hesitation on his ability to play. He's a dominant pitcher, and I think by far he's one of the guys that the Mets really do trust, and that's good. Hopefully it stays that way. The ghost forkball has been a good chase pitch, a good pitch that is kind of his put-away pitch. So hopefully he can continue to expand off of that tonight. We'll see how he uses it against the Oakland lineup, Moneyball lineup. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. The strikeouts have been good. The walks, he doesn't walk many guys. So, yeah, we'll see how things go for Kodai Senga tonight. Ideally, you'd like to see him go maybe 6 innings, 6-7 innings would be nice. Obviously, debating on how the rest of your offense carries. So we'll see how things go there. And obviously, the Oakland Athletics will have James Caprillion, I believe that's how you say his last name, on the bump. So that'll be game 1. Obviously, the lineup is out. Getting into game 2, the New York Mets will have Carlos Cookie Carrasco on the bump. Tomorrow's start at 4:07. Carrasco, once again, not even going to read off his stats because they're that bad in the 2 games he played in. I guess when it comes down to Carrasco, this could be a very vital start for Carrasco. He got beat up in both outings that he played in, and maybe this will be the outing that kind of determines, is he going to stay in the rotation, or are we going to kind of, have more confidence in David Peterson and Tyler McGill, or heck, even calling up Joey Lucchesi. So trust me, he could be putting himself in on the hot seat. It's very so likely. Like I said, that first inning complexity thing seems to be back. The long balls, the barrels, the hard contact, the hard exit velo. He just doesn't seem like he's there. He seems very lost. And I guess when it comes to it right now, like I said, this is going to be a very vital outing for Carrasco. He could get moved to the bullpen. He could be benched. Like I said, we're really going to have to see how this outing goes for Cookie, because it may be a very important one for, in pitching for the rest of the season. So we'll see how things go for Carrasco in that start. Like I said, if he can go out there, it's a cruddy A's lineup, build off of that. And then obviously getting into Sunday's game, it's game 3, the final game of this 3-game set. The Mets will have Mad Max Scherzer on the bump for them. Scherzer, obviously 2-1 on the season, 4.41 ERA, 1.22 whip, 16 and a third innings pitched. Ideally, Scherzer, it's a big ballpark. Hopefully you don't have to give up many long balls. Keep the ball in the ballpark, which is easy to do in the Oakland Coliseum, as it's kind of one of those ballparks that's kind of really hard to hit home runs out of. So I guess if you're Max Scherzer, you could benefit off of that. Ideally, you'd like to see Scherzer go back to that prime vintage self, kind of like what we saw in his last starting. Keep that slider there, high chase rate, high swing and miss rate, whiffs. Definitely keep that intact, and it could definitely be another good back-to-back outing from Mad Max Scherzer. So we will see how that can go for him in game 3. So that is the 3-game set for the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics. It's definitely going to be an interesting 3-game set. Ideally, this is an Athletics lineup. This team, the Oakland A's, are 3-10, 2-4 at home. Like I said, this is a team that's probably going to win, 40, 50 games barely, lose 100 plus games this year. Like I said, these 3 games are games that ideally you would like to sweep. They're a baseball team. They're capable of going out there and pitching and beating up on some decent teams every now and then. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Mets are automatically going to win all three. I bet my life on it. They're a baseball team too. But if you're a good team, the good teams, well, they beat up on bad teams. And I think if you're the Mets, that's what you have to do in this 3-game set. You're blessed to play the Athletics because coming after this, you're going to face the Giants. You're going to face the Dodgers. And I know the Mets do have pretty decent numbers, obviously, when it comes to playing those teams. But, you kind of would like to get 3 games in the books. Give yourself a little bit of room when it comes to being above 500, as well as the division, kind of expand a little bit on that. So, yeah, if you're the Mets, you kind of like to you would really like to kind of build off of that. So ideally, you would like to sweep. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, that's really all I have for the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series preview or summary, and the New York Mets and Oakland Athletics series preview, going over all of that great stuff. I see there's a ton of comments. However, I really do have to head out as it is 9:08 Eastern Standard Time, and I actually have to go out at 9:30. I have to go get ready and take care of a couple other things. I do feel bad leaving everyone without going over the comments. So, yeah, I do apologize if you did comment something and you want me to read it. I'll go back later tomorrow or in the evening or something, and I'll definitely go over and look back at the comments, and maybe I'll answer them next stream or something like that. So, yeah, like I said, I do apologize that I do have to leave. Like I said, I have a couple things I have to take care of. But yeah, I really do appreciate everyone for coming out. I know it was a quick stream, kind of planned it last minute. Originally wasn't even supposed to go live, but I was like, hey, you know what? I kind of hate missing live streams. I hate missing 3 games to summarize and 3 games to preview. So I just figured, all right, let's go on 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And yeah, so I do appreciate everyone for tuning in. Obviously, in today's stream, 23-minute stream, we went over the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series. Sorry, I'm having so many brain farts. Shit. Obviously, in today's stream, we went over the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series summary, summarizing the good, the bad, and the ugly in that. And then, of course, we went over the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics series preview, going over what to expect in that 3-game set against them. So, yeah, otherwise, I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. I do appreciate it as always. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, definitely please feel free to comment them below. Yeah, otherwise, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you are rewatching this on replay, feel free, leave a comment, whatever you like to do. Like I said, it's only like 25 minutes to stream, so it's not like super crazy long. But yeah, I do appreciate everybody for tuning into the stream as always. It's been a great stream. I will be back live tomorrow with fellow YouTuber Talking Mets with Rob. Obviously, Rob and I don't know if I was said it last stream, but Rob and I are starting a podcast. It's going to be on his channel and my channel, where it's going to be live, but on both channels at the same time. So you can hop over to his, stay on mine, however you want to go. And it's pretty much called the Shea Bridge Podcast, where it's going to be every Sunday. Him and I are going to go live for about an hour and a half, maybe 2. And essentially, we're just going to be going over Mets news, go over your guys' comments, concerns, questions, all that great stuff. Preview the week, summarize the week, preview the upcoming week. And yeah, kind of just more in depth of basic concerns and stuff to say. So definitely please feel free to keep an eye out on that. Otherwise, yeah, that's really all I have to discuss. Please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel, subscribe. We're on the road to 800 subscribers. Heck, if you have to make an account for your dog, I would strongly recommend it. Yeah, otherwise, that's all I got. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.